Hey guys, welcome back. Scott here. Today I have for you a new beer face-off video. I'm pitting two very famous, very popular Imperial Stouts against each other. If you've watched my other beer face-off videos, some have been as simple as, some of the Mexican beers like Corona, Modelo. I think I pitted Miller Lite, Bud Light, things like that. Couple IPAs against each other. So this one's again with two very popular Imperial Stouts. So let me just get right to it as far as which two I'm doing. I'll explain how I'm going to do this. For those of you, this may be your first beer face-off video you've seen. So I have North Coast Old Rasputin's Imperial Stout. Okay, it's been around for, God, it's got to be I don't know, 20 years, 30 years, something like that, 1988. Actually, North Coast Brewing Company's from 1988. This one's coming in, I think, somewhere around 9%. Yes, 9% alcohol. I'm sure I'm going to have it over my shoulder. Versus the famous Founders KBS, Kentucky Bourbon Stout. All right, and I think I've reviewed this. I've reviewed both of these beers solely under my beer dissection. Possibly even also, it may be tagged under my What Is Style about Imperial Stout. I may have used one of these. And maybe I'll try to tag at the end of when I edit this on YouTube. So two very famous Imperial Stouts. One's a little bit more alcoholic strength. KBS has one other distinguishing feature I want to talk about a little bit later. But how I'm going to do this, like I've done a few others, some I've done completely blind. This one I'm going to do partially blind. What that means is I'm going to know it's one of the two beers. I'm going to pause the video quickly in due time. Have these beers poured out into glass. And the reason why I'm doing it partially blind, I can get away with it. These beers both should look like completely the dark brown to black in the glass. Maybe, and even the head should be very close to each other. What I'm going to do is I'm going to taste each of them partially blind and tell you, I may not break it down like I do in my beer dissection, but I'm going to try to break it down a little bit and then tell you what I would prefer. And I've never, I've had these beers before, but, I've never really done it even partially blind. For me, it's kind of blind because I'm not going to know what's in each glass, even though I know one is one and one's the other. But to see which one I actually enjoy the most, so that if I ever wanted to just pick up, a few 6-packs, or some of these come in 4-packs, pick them up and, I maybe gravitate more to one than the other, than even realize it. Even though both are very popular, they both sell very well. Both of them get like A+ in my book as far as single, reviews. But the only thing different, I know the KBS is aged in bourbon barrels, but I've reviewed this beer, and sometimes like I've had bourbon straight, but sometimes in the bourbon barrel it doesn't give a tremendous amount of character. It just depends. You sit there and you think you have it's boozy, but both are sitting at 9 to 12% alcohol, so you're usually going to get a little bit of heat anyway. So anyway, that's the beer face-off today. So I'm going to pour these into glasses. I'm going to pause the video very shortly here, and then we're going to talk about them. All right? Just a quick pause here. Okay, guys, I'm back. I done poured out into glasses. So what we're going to do is I'm going to break this down, and we're going to kind of look at the head on each beer. Most likely, the way I edit this, and at least in the past, you're going to get the answer probably as I'm speaking to you. So the beer on the left is going to be beer number 1, and the beer on the right is going to be beer number 2. So you may actually be able to follow along more than I am right now. I'll decide after I finish the video and I'm editing it, I'll tweak things around a little bit. So you may get the answer already, but I don't currently, as I'm recording this video, know which one's in which glass, because I'm looking at them both and they look the exact same as far as color is concerned. One has a little bit more head than the other. So beer number 1, which I'm going to try to have on the left side when I edit this, okay? This poured it a minute or two ago, so we're already losing the head, but there is, trust me, there was about an inch and a half of head on there. It's kind of a light brown head. The beer is like extremely dark brown, if not black. It is pretty clear. I can get a few hues on it. Like reddish hues at the very bottom of the glass, but pretty black, okay? Beer number 2, which again, when I edit it, I'm going to probably have this beer on the right side of the screen. As currently, I don't know which one it is. It's one of the two, though, either North Coast Old Rasputin or this is the KBS. You can see here, too, very similar head. The head kind of similar color. It's kind of like a light brown, even though I've lost it. It's been settling down a little bit, even though my glasses are beer clean. Pretty much jet black. That's why I kind of picked both of these. And I probably will have a picture at the very end that, they're pretty much similar color. That's why I thought this would be good that would be okay to do partially blind, because I got no idea which one's which by just sheer visual cues. Okay, so beer number one, which again, if I don't already have it edited on my shoulder, is going to be on the left side of the screen. Okay, let's take a sniff of the aroma. Got my Tiku glass. So, there's definitely some chocolate, some light roast, medium to dark, I should say, not light roast, of course, medium to dark roast. I get some toffee, nuts. Like I said, there's some coffee notes, okay, but also dark fruit, kind of probably like fig, plum, raisin, okay, but definitely some definitely the chocolate, the nuttiness, a lot of Maillard reaction. Obviously, these are going to be both very malt-forward beers. Very nice, though. This one, what I may try to do at the end is pick which one's which I got a 50-50 chance, even though I've had both of these in the past, so it may not be that difficult. Okay, but just from sheer color, they're the same. Okay, but definitely chocolate, that medium roast, not as maybe as roasty as like espresso on the nose, but it's definitely a dark toast, toffee, nutty. Okay, so let's take a swig of number one here. Oh, chocolate, medium to dark chocolate. Dark roasted coffee. I wouldn't go as far as espresso, but the roast is definitely there. Chocolate, brown bread, some dark fruit like fig, raisin. There's a touch of alcoholic warmth, not much, not overwhelmingly over the top. Definitely medium, full-bodied, but delicious. Again, even on the aftertaste, there's some substantial bitterness here, definitely pronounced bitterness to this beer. On these Imperial Stouts, sometimes you want that because you want to balance out the sweetness of the malt. But without a doubt, I think it's chocolate, medium to dark roast, coffee. I wouldn't go as deep as espresso roast, like really, really dark. But those chocolate notes, nuts, roasted nut, that's pretty much it on there. So beer number two, okay, this was this one that's in the regular tulip glass. Let's take a sip of this one. Okay, now let's take a sniff of the aroma on this one. Now this one has more roast on it. It's got the chocolate. Kind of a medium chocolate, but it's got a little bit more of a, I have a nice little fancy espresso machine. I kind of get a little bit more of a deeper roast with the espresso on this one. But there's also very boozy smelling. Okay, which maybe give me a hint here. Okay, but let's take a swig of this one. I'll talk about this one a little bit. Yeah, see. This one's probably equal in the sense of, I'm getting a little more burn on this one now as I'm speaking to you. Pretty equal on the chocolate character, dark malt character, except that this one is a little stronger with the coffee. Like it's got You know, it's kind of a dark roasted coffee, maybe on the verge of espresso, but I definitely feel they're using some more darker malts, like more roasted barley, maybe black patent malt, because it's just a little bit more pungent. It actually has a little bit of stringency on there from probably the copious amounts of dark malt they're using. Let me taste that again. Yeah, this one, beer number 2, which is going to be on the right side of your screen, which you may already see the answer after I edit this. I don't obviously know yet, even though I have a couple of hints already. This second one definitely get a lot more alcoholic warmth. I'm actually feeling the burn going down. So anyway, I'll get to that in a second. But chocolate, dark fruit character, more like rum-soaked raisin, figs soaked in rum, because I'm getting a little bit more of that alcoholic solventy feeling on beer number 2, which isn't, I gotta be honest with you, it's really not that pleasant. I get a little bit like kind of almost like a wood character here, which this kind of gives me a hint that beer number 2 is going to be the KBS, the Kentucky Bourbon Stout, because it is aged in oak barrels, bourbon barrels, but that's probably where I'm getting the alcoholic boozy smell. But it's definitely a little bit harsh. Like it's just a little bit like, you know, you're taking a shot at the bar, you kind of get that burn in there, which isn't the most pleasant thing, be honest with you guys. The chocolate character, the roast characters is okay. The dark fruit character is okay. Even the bitterness is about the same. It's pretty balanced. But if I go back to beer number 1 on the left, you know, wow. It's not as stringent. Sorry guys, I got cut off because my camera went to a different memory card, but I was talking about how beer number 2 had a little bit more of like a stringency, the warmth was a little bit of bitey, and I was saying beer number 1 was having a little bit more, a little bit smoother. It's not as astringent, a little smoother, but both had that kind of chocolate dark fruit character. So I apologize, I edited. Hopefully I edited this properly so it doesn't look too bad. So beer number 1 again, nice, smooth, medium to full mouthfeel, chocolate, roast, things like that. And beer number 2, which was this one, which I was, before I got cut off there, is, again, it's a little bit more astringent on top, a little solventy, good chocolate, good roast, very similar to the first one. Just finding a little bit more harsh to drink overall, even though it's still quality. It's just, don't get me wrong, I'm just trying to compare these two in this beer face-off. So anyway, I have to say the one that I enjoy the most, and then I'll pause the video again, and then we'll go into it. The winner between this beer face-off between beer number 1, beer number 2, which again, it's probably over my shoulder when I edit this. You're like, what's he talking about? I already know the answer. In my opinion, is I got to say it's beer number 1. Okay, just because it's smoother, it's got enough chocolate, roast, good mouthfeel, good body. You know, I get a little bit of warmth, but it's not over the top. It's just more enjoyable. Okay, just more that I can probably drink more than one, even though it's still at probably a high percentage alcoholic strength. This beer number 2, even though very good, maybe because it's at probably a higher percent alcohol, and because I'm getting the wood, I probably know now what it is. You kind of get that warmth. So I got to say it's beer number 1. So I'm going to pause this real quick and just double check with my beer pour and make sure I got this down. Okay, guys. So beer number 1, okay, which was the winner in today's beer face-off, was indeed, which I was thinking was the North Coast, Old Rasputin. Classic beer, been around for ages. Probably one of the earlier Imperial Stouts, other than maybe Sierra Nevada's Narwhal, right around the same time. Really good. I mean, just It's got enough oomph with the malt. It's got some moderate to pronounced bitterness to balance off some of that. It's got the chocolate. It's got the roast. But the alcoholic warmth on there is not as solventy and hot. That was the big thing that changed it for me. Beer number 2 on the right side of the screen, which I'm sure I had it over for a while, is the Founders KBS. Okay, now some of you may be yelling at me like, hey, what the hell are you doing, Scott? I love Founders. It's a great beer. Don't get me wrong. I do enjoy it. I'll have it again. Let me just taste it. Yeah, it's just, listen, what gave it away to me in a way was the fact that there is a little bit of an oak character, and it is aged in oak barrels, but that wasn't really the big thing. It was just the fact that it's just the heat on it. Like, it's just solventy, very hot, what we call hot in beer tasting world. Even though it's going to impart some oak, it is in bourbon barrels. I'm not going to say it tastes like straight bourbon that I have, but it's almost like if you made a Boilermaker, right? Put a shot of booze inside of a beer. It just adds some astringency. I'm not looking to get drunk, so I don't need something that's boosted. And this one's at the Founders here. I want to say it's at like 12% alcohol, and the Old Rasputin's at 9%. So it's only, rough. What did I just say? 12%, 9, 3% difference. So that's not it so much. I think it's just either the astringency from the oak but I really feel it maybe even from the bourbon. It's just not that enjoyable. Like, I shouldn't say that. It's enjoyable if I had it on the own, but if I had to compare the two, and today's beer face-off, Old Rasputin's going to win. I just think it's got enough oomph. They both are very equal in the malt as far as the chocolate, coffee character, roast character, very similar in that sense, similar bitterness. It's just the fact that the KBS Founders is a little bit more solventy with the alcoholic warmth, getting the burn and everything. Sure, this one will get you drunk faster, okay, but I'm looking for quality on Imperial Stouts. I don't really care whether something's at 9%, 13%, 12%, I keep saying 13, but 12%, I'm going to get intoxicated at one point if that's really what I was trying to achieve. But I just find the Founders, let me just taste this again. I say Founders, I said the North Coast Old Rasputin that I just took a sip of. It's bold, it's got toffee, nuttiness, chocolate, coffee. It's got enough oomph of maybe alcoholic strength and full-bodied, chewy, sit by the fire also tastes. And the KBS is just, has that character, but it just has that solventy harshness to it. And again, I drink some spirits, so it's not like it's because it was bourbon in the barrel. I just don't find it as enjoyable. So anyway, guys, so for today's beer face-off video, the famous North Coast Old Rasputin Imperial Stout versus the famous Founders Original, okay, because I know they make a few other flavored ones. This one is in bourbon barrels, okay, so there is some oakiness to it. I have to definitely give it to the North Coast Old Rasputin. It's just more enjoyable and not as harsh as the Founders. Feel free to chime in underneath if you disagree. I'm more ears. Not to say I will never drink the Founders again. It's not bad. It's not a bad beer. It's a very good beer. It's just I find in the beer face-off, the Old Rasputin just is head and shoulders, I think, above the KBS. All right, guys. So next beer video or beer dissection video, whatever I may do. See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.